favor of the people against the governor's executive orders. North Carolina has ruled in favor of the people who brought the lawsuit. Louisiana ruled in favor of the governor. All of these will be nuanced because of the way they were enacted. Michigan's is pending. Texas, their governor said that there are certain cities that need to ease back. Austin, Dallas, San Antonio. If you guys, I hate to put you in this position, but what do you think is going to happen with the Supreme Court?
I think they sided with Kate Brown. We live in a, we're West Coast liberal Oregon, you know? Not where we live, Southern Oregon, but there are 5 counties that matter in Oregon, and Josephine is not one of them. And Jackson is not one of them, and Douglas is not one of them, and Curry is not one of them, and Klamath. We don't matter down here. We don't elect anybody, right? She has a majority in the state house. She has a super majority in the Senate. She is putting her judges in. Democrats have ruled in Oregon for what now? 40 years? It's okay. Well, that's all the mill that has produced our judiciary is on the liberal side. So I think, well, I thought we had 2 weeks of freedom.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think there is a constitutional case for what they're saying.
Yeah.
I do think later laws are, the reason why those laws were passed is because that previous law needed to have some reins put on it. And so I think constitutionally there is a real good argument. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, Ethan Bass says the message went from slowing the curve to finding the cure.
Yep.
And
That's it.
yeah, what does that mean?
They changed the goals. We met that goal really quick. There's been no bump. We flattened the curve. 20 cases, right? Curve's flattened. Now it's no, we're gonna wait and stay until everybody is safe. It's my safetyism, all right? This is the final product of the way that our world is, no, the way that our country is in making sure everybody stays safe. Now you can't get a disease. We're not gonna let it. We're gonna quarantine healthy people. What?
Where's that science?
What? Yeah, normally you quarantine unhealthy people. What is this? This is new science to me. Yeah.
So I was looking, just watching, it's my job today to watch the Facebook feed. So if you have a wonderful question, please send it through there. But we have some people watching from all over the country and some people from Portland watching. And the conversation today is really indicative of what would happen on a normal Sunday at Edgewater, representing the culture and the people here. And so two big words that at Edgewater that we're discussing right now in leadership and then even in conversations is how do we rely and defy? So Carrie had 3 words and I've got 2 words, rely and defy. So there's a lot of relying on the government right now for information, but then also there's a lot of money being sent out. They're printing money. These are conversations that would happen in the foyer at Edgewater, and what are our thoughts on that? And the government continues to execute some control that we've never experienced.
Yep.
And then also, which would seem to incur hyperinflation, which is trillions of dollars being printed, and then people being, Carrie had a stat today, 68% of people on unemployment are making more money on unemployment than they were in their wages. And so, man, how do you get people off of that?
Yeah.
And so we're becoming very reliant on the government.
Yeah.
And as a church, what's our relationship with that?
Yeah, so we had an opportunity 2 months ago to participate in the payroll protection plan, which is churches could do this, and we know churches that did do it. You could go and you could ask the government to give you 2.5 months of the salary of your church. So they would give you that if you met some conditions, you didn't lay some people off. So there's the opportunity for, it seems like, free money out there. And we're in an elders meeting on Tuesday morning at like 6:30 in the morning. And I remember something that Dan Vidlac said, and I'll never forget it. He said, this is an opportunity to let God's people rise up. And I thought, yeah, we don't rely on the government. This is an opportunity to allow God's people to stand up and say, this is important, and we're putting our money where our mouth is. So we're now down the road 2+ months. And it just almost brings me to emotion to say God's people at Edgewater they've stood up, and you guys have continued to give, and you've it's on a Tuesday, people will be driving in and I'll say, hey, what are you doing? Oh, dropping off my check. And I'm like, that's unbelievable, right? Because we're not doing all the things we normally do that you're like, okay, yes. And yet people still say God's people rose up. And we can gladly say, and I am proud to say this, we didn't take anything from the government. And I'm not making a judgment call on any other church, saying as elders we got together and we said, let's give opportunity for God's people to stand up. And when that opportunity was given, God's people have stood up. So from my heart, thank you to all the generous people who have said, this is important and we're going to continue to support it, even though it's morphing and changing. And it doesn't look like it used to. It doesn't matter. This thing called the church, local body of believers getting together, gospeling out, really matters. And we're putting our money where our mouth is. So giant thank you from me and from all the staff at Edgewater. You guys you've blessed me hugely. So don't rely. So,
But on the flip side of that, don't rely. And like that statement, let God's people rise up. There's also this other side that says, well, let's rise up and meet.
yeah, fully.
Right?
Let's defy.
Yeah, defy.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so we kind of defied culture as leadership at Edgewater. We just said, no, we're going to trust God in this. God's people are faithful. However we meet, whether it be in a tent, a home, a building, or whatever, doesn't change our relationship with God and his generosity to us. But then we have this political
moving
culture.
goalposts where when is the end?
When can we
inside?
meet? 25 people, 100 people, 10 people, 250,
Yeah.
indefinite. We don't know.
Yeah.
Could be September.
Yeah, wait for the cure.
And so, man, I get these phone calls or conversations, texts from dear friends, family members. Hey, why aren't we meeting? And we have friends that, again, no judgment on them. They're choosing to say, hey, they're setting dates. We're going to start meeting no matter what. We're going to open our doors as a church and gather. And we have that sentiment here with some folks. And I push against that even in my spirit. I'm like, I want to meet. And so, Matt, we discussed today as elders in a long conversation, what is our stance on defying the current status?
Yeah, I had a good conversation with a friend in Medford who has said to his crew, we are open June 7th. And I think there are 3,000 churches across California that are saying the same thing. And most of them are symbolically choosing May 31st, which is Pentecost. And if you're new to church, Pentecost is Acts chapter 2, the birth of the church. When God's Spirit descends on the 120 and they go out and they proclaim Jesus, and 3,000 people get saved that day. So they're like, hey, this day matters. It matters to gather and to come together. So, and I get the question, what are we doing? And people email me and talk to me. And for me, and I think elders as well, and we wrestle with this, to defy the government requires an Acts 5 moment where Peter says, should we obey God or should we obey man? And for us, like the lawsuit, we did not join the lawsuit because it was a citizen of Oregon constitutional thing, not a biblical thing. So Kate Brown had just lifted the number to 25. Churches could get together in groups of 25. So then our mandate to assemble and to gather, not to forsake that, was gone. So then it was a constitutional question of, hey, constitutionally, she did not execute things correctly. As a citizen of Oregon, I love the Oregon Constitution. I love our Constitution. I love our Bill of Rights. Those are so important. I just listened to, I was working outside, so I listened to Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, which recounts the French Revolution and how horrific the ruling class was to the peasants. Like that, it's just, we forget how good the Constitution has been to America, how good the Bill of Rights has been to America, how good our Declaration of Independence has been. those things, we experience a flourishing in America because of those things that really were not seen in the world until America came on the scene and started to push these things out to the world. So, wow, so thankful for that as a citizen. But if I'm going to defy an authority, Romans 13, all authority is ordained by God. It's been put over me, whether I agree with it or not. They're talking about authorities that were really bad. Caesar Nero, right? Like, whatever you think of our current administrative in the state or in the White House, they're not Caesar Nero. And it was, hey, that authority is ordained by God, and you need to submit. So for us to say, we're going to defy this thing, it better be, I can point to something biblically. Because at some point, as elders, we'll stand before Jesus and give an account of how we led, right? James 3:1, don't desire to be leaders. Why? Because you have the greater condemnation. And if I'm going to stand before Jesus and say, I defied an authority put over me because your word says, I have no problem with that.
Well, I had to go back and reread Acts 5 and remind myself, whoa, they were jailed.
They were told you cannot preach
You
Jesus.
cannot preach Jesus.
Do not preach in this name.
Right.
Have they said that to me?
No.
No.
And that's a whole different ballgame.
It's a whole different ballgame,
Right.
right? So can we still, and I'm making a verb out of gospel, can we still gospel in Grants Pass?
We're doing it right now.
Can we still
Yes.
proclaim
Yes.
Jesus as King and Lord, who came and conquered sin and death,
Yes.
and is risen and seated by the right hand of the Father?
Yes.
Yeah, nobody's telling me I can't do that.
Yep.
Could I baptize somebody that wanted to be baptized?
Yes.
Sure, I could take them down to the river and baptize them. Can we do communion? Yeah, totally. Can we assemble together? Yeah, we actually can. Not in numbers that I want, but I can't let a building and the size of a building dictate what I do. I have to have the Bible dictate what I do. So I come back to, is there a biblical reason for us to defy authority and meet as a large group together? As much as I want that, that's like core deep down, that's what I want. I want to say, like, there is a rebel in me that wants to say to government, that wants to say to the executive orders, forget you. We're doing what we want.
Yeah.
That is in me. But I have to come back to, I am an ambassador of King Jesus, and his authority is my authority. And I don't have the authority to go beyond what he says. And I don't have any authority right now to say, this is against King Jesus. We're going to defy this and do what we want to do.
Well, it's just like any other issue. It's really healthy conversation, and I hope that in this season, believers, our family members are taking advantage of this unique season to bring it back to the gospel, to bring it back to the word. It's like any other situation. We were having this conversation a year ago about alternative lifestyle marriages.
Yeah.
Or, like, hey, what does the Bible say?
Yeah.
I don't care what culture says. I don't care what my feelings say. I don't care what the persuasive culture says. The Bible says this, and it's clear on what marriage is. One man, one woman for life, right? And so this is another issue that we have to bring back to Scripture because it's so easy to get fired up
It is.
in my flesh. It's against everything.
And I love it. I love getting fired up.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally. And
We
so,
have-
go ahead.
We have unbelievers watching. I have people that I talk to in the community.
Yeah.
What is Edgewater doing? What are you guys going to do?
where aren't you meeting?
Yeah. Are you guys going to join? Or what? I heard this, I heard that. And it's just a reminder for me that people are watching how we respond as believers to the situation. And not only will we have to give an account at the end of our lives, we're going to have to give an account at the end of quarantine. How did we handle it?
Yeah.
And I appreciate the stance that Elder Board is taking.
We have to be careful in a changing culture that we don't have, I call it a Kodak moment. If you don't know the story of Kodak owned the film producing world. I think they had 90% of film in the 1970s. They were a safe bet. If you wanted to invest in a company, like if you were Warren Buffett, you were investing in Kodak because it was guaranteed to just bring in this much money. It was like, yeah. In 1976, they had an engineer that designed a new camera that didn't use film. It used digital signals to decide what a picture was. And Kodak went, oh no, That's a threat to our business. Patent it and hide it. And so that's what they did. And you know the story. They went bankrupt in 2007. From just the heights they ruled to bankrupt because they didn't adapt to the changing culture. And I think, well, if things are changing now, we're not going to do as much as we want to. You can dig your heels in, but you're not going to stop the change of the world. And we have to say, okay, with the way things are today, how do you continue to be faithful to gospeling? How do we faithfully gospel with the way things are today? There hasn't been a mandate that's against Jesus yet. Okay, so it's not defy. So how do we faithfully gospel with the way things are today? And I think really the Bible gives us a precedent. Paul was put in prison. And in prison, what did he do?
Wrote letters.
Did he defy the government? There's no way to do that. So he did a podcast.
He taught and sang praises and wrote letters.
He did a podcast. And his podcast was, write this letter out. I'm sending it. You read it in this church and then pass it on. Make a copy, because they make tons and tons of copies of Paul's letter. We have thousands and thousands of the manuscripts. Make a copy of it, pass it on to the next person. They'll podcast it. So you get in your home, you read this letter from me. It reminds you of all the stuff I told you when I was there. You break bread, you have a meal, you discuss it, right? So in Galatians, they start reading this letter and they're like, you don't have to be circumcised? And there's one dude who's like, what? Dang, why didn't I get this last week, right? So there's great conversations that come out of these letters, and it was the way that things worked because of what happened. The authorities put Paul in prison, and he could have cried and whined and defied the government, or said, give me a piece of paper and a pencil. That's the way that I can do things.
What we see all through the scriptures, redeem the time.
Yeah.
Right? For the days are evil.
Yeah.
And so we have an opportunity to redeem the time. We can sit and wait and ponder and complain, and we can really waste a lot of energy about things we can't control.
Yeah.
Well, we can start meeting in homes.
Yeah, 25.
25 people. And we started this early in this COVID season, back in March. We're like, hey, okay, start gathering. They shrunk it from 250 down to 25, and we said, start meeting in homes, invite people. Then it went to 10.
And at 10, no strangers.
And no strangers, and it was like, and so we've had a pretty solid group of community groups at Edgewater for a few years, and now we can start gathering. And so I don't know if you guys have any more things to share on that, but I just wanted to share some opportunities in that. And we need to be innovative, and we can't stop. And we can't gather large like we normally can, but you guys can start meeting in your homes, 25 or less. And so there's gonna be a ton of questions with that, and we wanna help you walk that out. And so how would you do that? Well, if you have a group, call them up, get together. We're going to do church in our homes.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but just Cece, Marissa, and I, it's kind of, it's okay. I would much rather have 20 of my friends over, break bread, have a meal, do church, ask great questions, challenge each other, pray for one another. So we're going to encourage you to redeem the time. Start meeting in your homes on Sundays at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I think we need that. I know for me, I almost need that 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Because if not, it becomes like, well, I'll do it later or whatever. Like there's, and we're in Proverbs, and you can read Proverbs for yourself. There's tons of this order.
Yeah.
Like if you don't order your life, it's chaos.
Yeah.
Right? The Bible starts with God's Spirit ordering the chaos. And part of the order that comes is, okay, at 10 a.m., we will gather as friends, as family, and we're going to do this together.
Right.
We're going to get this podcast, or what, this
Live
video,
stream.
live stream, whatever it is, and we're going to break bread, and we're going to do it on this rhythm that is healthy, not this kind of chaotic, well, I'll get it whenever, or, So I think it's really important to have that. 10
Well,
a.m.
we can take this obstacle and we can be stymied by it, or we can look at the opportunity that it creates. And I personally think it's an opportunity for us to really grow as a body and to grab neighbors and friends and loved ones and worship together. And who knows what God's going to do after this?
Yeah.
It could be a month, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. Who knows when this is all going to change and we're able to gather in large groups again. But until then, let's take advantage of it and gather. And so if you want to gather and you're not in a group, you don't know how to get connected, you can go to the website. We're going to have on our website a way to email myself, call the church office. Now, the church office phone is not always manned. in this season because the office isn't open all the time. But you can leave a voicemail. We will call you back. Rachel's checking the phones all the time, and we want to get you connected. And I know there's groups out there, families out there saying, hey, we'll take people into our home. We want to meet new people. We want to gather. We want to celebrate together. It's a great opportunity to get to know each other on an intimate basis. And so we want to take advantage of this. And well, we have kids. Another big question is, we got 6 kids. And if we invite our friends over, that means we have 10. Okay. Justin and Braden and Josh Knox and Anna, they've been creating these great kids ministry videos that are really interactive with praise, with teaching, and they're a separate video. And you could go into another room. Maybe one set of parents chooses a Sunday where they're going to go into the room with the kids, and they're going to do kids church in a separate room. So there is things for your kids, and that also is going to be available on our website, on our social media, how to access that. And I encourage you to check it out before you try to push play at the last second, but get prepared for that. And someone bring communion to your gathering. Maybe somebody just says, hey, that's my gift to this family this week is I'm going to prepare communion and bring it. There's a lot of opportunities to serve here. And then we encourage you to break bread, do church, 10 a.m. in your living room, and then afterwards, have a meal together. Potluck, bring a meal. We provide questions like community group questions. They're available online on our website over under community. We'll also email them to you if you're a community group leader. And then it's just a way to create questions and conversation that leads to sanctification, that leads to a great life and a closer relationship with the Lord. And so we can talk through these things over a meal or afterwards. So there's just some of the tools that we want to offer over this next season, however long that lasts.
Yeah, I think that like hosting, if there's 3 or 4 families.
Yeah, they could rotate.
Yeah, you rotate. So there's not one family that like hates it. They all come to my house, they trash it, they eat all my food, and then they leave. Like, we don't want that. But there's sometimes I call them super hosts, where it's like, I love having people in my home.
Yeah.
It's why God gave me this gift, and I will do it every single Sunday. And you just keep checking with that person. Are you sure? Are you good? Then you do the dishes for them. You throw in. It's a rotating thing. I think both are cool. I like having people over to my house. I like going to somebody's house and eating all their food too. So both is good.
Yeah, early on when we first started this, Cece and I had a couple weeks where we had a bunch of friends over from our community group, and it was way better than just the 3 of us doing church for our family. It just created an anticipation and some expectation. Like, we weren't in our
Some
PJs.
order.
Yeah, totally.
Totally.
We did church, and we were prepared. We had communion, and it was just, for our family, it was way more worshipful to have friends over, and so.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
A note on your change thing with Kodak. Sociologists say that all change obviously is inevitable, it's coming, but disruptors accelerate it. So we have a disruptor, quarantine, coronavirus. So these changes we're experiencing, we're coming.
Yeah.
We just are experiencing them sooner. And I think it's great, the stance that the elder board is taking, and like, hey, this is the hand that we're dealt. You keep saying, let's make, what is it? We're making orange juice out of lemons, right? So these opportunities like this, man, more gathering in homes together, I think is something we would all say before quarantine. That's something we want to be about as a church.
Yeah.
So we have great opportunities.
Well,
before us.
I can find myself whining a little bit.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to be that way.
No way.
I miss this.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's the drive for it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give me the right to defy it or to not say, where's the opportunity of this?
Yep.
Okay, Lord, you knew this was going to happen. I want to be able to faithfully carry out the gospel, regardless of exterior conditions, like Paul did. Hey, I'm in prison. What can I do? I could pout, I could whine. Now I'm going to praise, and I'm going to start writing these letters, which
Amen.
become his most important work.
Yeah, totally.
He would have thought planting churches is my most important work. Nope. The letters you wrote while you couldn't meet with people, that's your most important work.
Well, we could see, I think we're going to see testimonies out of this season that God's doing a work in people's hearts, in their communities, healing, maybe even friendships, creating new friendships and family that we never would have experienced before. And if we don't look at it like that, what's the point?
Totally.
We have to, and so you said earlier when Dan Vidlac said in an early elders meeting, let God's people rise up. Same situation.
Same situation.
Let God's people rise up. Yeah.
Yep.
Lead.
Ed asks the question, will we do another drive-in church? As far as I know, we're planning the first of every month.
Yeah. Unless
Correct.
it's super hot or something, I think
Yeah.
being down on asphalt in August, I hope we're not still doing this in August, but it very well could be. I hope the number gets to 250 because we can do weekend gatherings with the 250 number.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Drive-in church
Once-
every week, as long
yeah,
as the weather
once a month.
permits, yeah.
So we have a question. Could we come to Sunday night worship if it's limited to 25 people?
Sure.
Tickets.
No problem. I don't know how you limit it, but no problem. Yep.
Yeah. What if 200 people just showed up? What would we do? I mean, maybe I
not-
shouldn't ask that live
I'm
on
not
here.
here on
Sunday
Sunday.
night.
Josh Cunningham with the
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's the kindest man.
And he would say Chris Martinez was in charge. And Chris would say that.
Somebody else was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barb Dinkowitz, love you, Barb. Love Barb and Steve. So she has a question. She was wondering if it would be helpful to write the governor stating how essential church is.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So, right, people need to rise up.
Yeah.
We, as the COV, have had multiple conversations. When I say COV, Church of the Valley here, and I'm trying to work within that. I think there's health to that. There's strength to that, saying all the churches down here feel the same way. So we have written letters. We have addressed this. We have, as much as we can, put before the state leaders, we need to open. This is wrong. Now, the more people that do the same thing, that's what moves government, is people. So the more that we do that, the more we talk to our local officials as well, because they have a direct line to the state that you and I don't have. So our county commissioners, Dan DeYoung is up for re-election. Hey, bro, come on. So, yeah, letters, phone calls, flood them, 100%.
Invite people to your houses this weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're gonna get calls like, I wanna be involved and I'm not connected. And I'm needing places where people are raising their hands. I already know of some people that are gonna offer, but just because I know the type of people in my life that will do that. But if you're one of those people watching today and you're like, you know what, honey, we should invite some people to our house on Sunday. Who are we gonna invite? Hey, call me, I'll let you know, I'll try to connect you.
One thing that'll be interesting to watch is I think Washington, California, Arizona, Florida, Texas have said we are going to start sports June 1st. So that will be interesting to watch to see if that moves pieces around.
Yeah.
Just something that I'm curious to see how it affects, what the ripple is.
Yep.
Well, I hope that was helpful today, guys. And I hope it spurs some conversation. If we missed anything, please reach out to us. We want to know how we can help, get you connected, and we'll keep praising God. This doesn't stop God's work to be done.
Amen.
Gospel work goes ahead.
Yeah.
No
Amen.
problem. God bless you guys.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Bye.